Absolutely amazing stuff. We now move from the birelART Juniors to focus in on the birelART Super Elites. But what an absolutely amazing session for the birelART Juniors. And once again, proof that you've got to be one of the top drivers in the country if you want to be at the front of the grid in the birelART Juniors. They are so close. You start racing in this category from the age of 12 all the way up to 15. And it's so competitive. Have you seen that starting grid? 0.8 of a second covering 15 drivers on the grid. And that has just been the way it's been all season long. Truly spectacular in the birelART UK series, and it's been amazing to behold all year. So we have a few more well-wishers getting in touch on the stream. Do please do so. That's good luck Sky Siddle in the juniors. Burn some rubber. That's from Maddie and Ava. Lee Snell sending that one in. Thank you to Maddie and Ava. Hope you're enjoying the stream. And your girl, Sky Siddle, doing an absolutely fantastic job so far. David Pegg sends one in. Nice one, Nicky Taylor. Indeed, he did an absolutely cracking job there to get himself at the sharp end and hopefully give himself the best possible chance of going for his first victory in the 2017 season. It's been absolutely amazing thus far. And he's done himself very proud. Now we turn our attention, as we said, to the birelART Super Elites. Some very talented races in this, as Sam Faulkner is on the verge of wrapping up the championship here. He's got a very tasty lead at the moment. As far as I can make out from last time out at Shenington, I thought the championship was settled, but he told me he wasn't quite sure it was done yet. He just needed to get the ticks, basically the crossing of the T's and the dotting of the I's, as they say. We're just looking at Matt Rainbow, the 291 and the 157 of Tom Snape as they sit in the pits ready to go. You could just make out Matthew Pearce as well there with the fantastic, I think that's the beanstalk helmet design he's got on the back of his kart as the green flag flies, and straight out of the blocks, Matt Rainbow wants as much running around the circuit as is physically possible. He feels pretty comfortable around this place. And he seems to be pretty quick. Certainly yesterday he was very much on the form. Now the gap between Sam Faulkner and Richard Evans in terms of points is 40. So unless Sam Faulkner has an absolute howler, then it's pretty much done and dusted for him in the Drivers' Championship. But Richard Evans will be banking on the mechanical problems for Sam Faulkner increasing, because he did have some this morning, of course. Ami Jurga currently sits third in the championship, although being caught rapidly by Matthew Pearce, who is only 2 points behind her in the Drivers' Championship. Tom Snape and James Baldwin are in the top 6, although it appears as though there is no James Baldwin this weekend. I certainly haven't seen him thus far, so it looks as though there's not going to be any James Baldwin on the grid. And that will give Elliot Stanley a chance to overtake him and get into the top 6 in the driver's standings. Jason Bradbury, Jonathan Corrie, David Darling and Will Checkley all here to try and get themselves into the top 10. Carl Watt is here as well. We've had several absences. One of the drivers who's missed a couple of rounds is Matt Rainbow, but he is back for this one. And great to see him there still. And good to see from the last round of the championship at Shenington, Dave Burns has been part of the championship as well, and he's been getting faster and faster as things go on. One driver who is absent, and unfortunately has been since Butmore Park, but we knew that because of his studies, is Jonathan Collins. We wish him all the very best for his future endeavours. He recently graduated or he certainly got himself a place, at Oxford University, I think it was. It was Oxford or Cambridge, one of the two. That obviously proves we've got some incredibly intelligent talent in the grid as well as very fast. Now, Matt Rainbow's banged in a 47.7 right off the bounce, and everybody else is in 52s and 53s at the moment, so that's very positive from his point of view. There's the number 7. That's Jonathan Corrie. So as you can see on the Facebook stream, the birelART UK Series website, birelARTUKseries.com. You can start racing in the Elites and Supermasters from the age of 15. So 15 years old and upwards, and that makes you a senior. And a lot of drivers have used this championship to springboard themselves to big things. Don't forget that one driver who came through the birelART UK Series in its days when it was known as the EasyKart UK Championship was the very talented racing driver Jake Hughes, who is now a very popular figure in the worlds of GP3 Series and the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. He's actually been racing and winning in Formula 3 this year, which is the same campaign as the one where Lando Norris won the championship. So that is all the credibility you need. The birelART UK Series, very good at providing great talent, and obviously there's a lot of links as well to the Ginetta Championship. Several of the drivers from the birelART UK Series were given automatic positions on the Ginetta Junior Scholarship based on their performances, namely Tyrone Stansfield, Will Martin, Sam Cunliffe and Tom Massaralla were all given positions to go and do it. And, well, Martin got all the way to the final. So if you do well in the birelART UK Series paddock, it could turn into a very, very strong career. We're in the Super Elites and we're in the qualifying session, and Ami Jurga has gone to the top, just ahead of Richard Evans and Matt Rainbow. Jason Bradbury is there in 4th at the moment. Excuse me, Jason Bradbury, 4th position. That's the bacon sandwich trying to come back. Tom Snape and Will Checkley, 5th and 6th. Jonathan Corrie and Aaron Banks in 7th and 8th at the moment. David Darling, Matthew Pearce and Elliot Stanley, although John Corrie goes 6th. But interestingly, there is no Sam Faulkner. Now he's coming out onto the pits, though. Sam Faulkner is now making his way out on track. I was getting a little bit nervous there. He's had a shaky start as Sam Faulkner, but he now makes his way out onto the pits very slowly. He wants to make sure, of course, that he feeds himself back into a decent position. But in terms of his performances so far this season, Sam Faulkner has almost had it completely his own way through the course of proceedings. We're chatting away on the Facebook live stream, the birelART UK Series. We're on Instagram as well. You can also follow us along on the Instagram page for the birelART UK Series. But it's absolutely amazing. We've had so many responses from so many people on social media here for the final round. Lots of good lucks and well wishes as we watch the drivers in the Super Elites Championship. Ami Jurga, I should say, is still leading the way. Nearly 0.4 of a second clear of Jason Bradbury, who now comes up into 2nd place. Rainbow is 3rd from Richard Evans, John Corrie, Tom Snape from Checkley, Darling, Banks and Pearce. It's going to be very, very close in the top. As Tom Snape now goes to the top, a 46.155. Tom Snape goes top. Very, very fast lap times coming in from them, as we're probably expecting a 45-second lap time for pole position. But Snape, Jurga, Rainbow now comes up to 2nd on a 46.230. Elliot Stanley goes up to 6th place alongside Jason Bradbury. So we've got Snape, Rainbow, Jurga, Evans, Bradbury, Stanley, John Corrie, Will Checkley. Matthew Pearce is only 9th at the moment. I'm sure that pace is going to increase. Then Darling, Banks and Faulkner. There's the confirmation at the moment. Sam Faulkner just bedding the kart in. But he will be starting to go very fast, very quickly, and expect Sam Faulkner to be battling for pole position. But at the moment, it's Tom Snape and Matt Rainbow at the front from Ami Jurga and Richard Evans. Bradbury is 5th from John Corrie. Very close and very tight stuff at the moment as the man himself, Matthew Pearce. And there you go, Faulkner's gone into 1st position. I was going to say Matthew Pearce and Matt Rainbow coming out of the final turn together. Rainbow goes top, 46.029, and Stanley goes 2nd. Now, Elliot Stanley, again, has been very confident coming into this one. He was smiling at the end of yesterday, which automatically means he's had a very good day. He's one of those drivers who wears his heart on his sleeve, Elliot Stanley, but he's very easygoing and very relaxed and chilled this weekend. He's just going to take each race as it comes and hopefully get himself a place on the podium. Here comes David Darling, arguably the man with the coolest car in the paddock. A lot of drivers, obviously, bring their own amazing machinery. It's fantastic. David Darling, when he first arrived in the paddock at the beginning of the year here at Whilton Mill in March, other people had come in BMWs, in a couple of Porsches, I think we saw, Audis and whatever. He turned up with his Tesla Model S, and all of the dads were absolutely besotted with it. They wouldn't go anywhere other than that car. They was absolutely besotted with that machinery, as of course am I, as it happens. Sam Faulkner is fastest from Elliot Stanley at the moment. There is Elliot Stanley on the Facebook live stream, just running around Christmas Corner and up towards Inkermans. But he is there in 2nd position at the moment. Matt Rainbow doing an absolutely fantastic job, and seeing as how we've just been watching Elliot Stanley, I think it's fair to say that Matty Wright is a very enthusiastic spectator. Go on, Stano, he says with a smiley. And he's doing an absolutely cracking job. 2nd position at the moment. Richard Evans goes 3rd. Rainbow is 4th from Jurga, Snape, Pearce now getting into the action. But look how close it is. Look at the gaps between each of the drivers as they come across the line. There's absolutely nothing in it. And across the entire grid, it's 1.7 seconds from Faulkner down to Banks. Absolutely amazing. Again, the quality of these karts is fantastic. And I have actually driven the 125cc birelART machine. It is so quick. It is incredibly responsive. You put your foot on the throttle, you wait half a second, and then it's like being fired out of a trebuchet. It's absolutely amazing, the power, and with it comes incredible mechanical grip. With most karts, the back end steps out and you have to be patient and allow the kart to come back to the apex. Not with these, the back end sticks out. It almost feels like it's got traction control, these karts. There's so much mechanical grip. It just snaps back to the apex. It's absolutely incredible. Amazing karts to drive. And if I wasn't a commentator and I had a couple of £1,000, I would be racing in this very championship. Absolutely incredible. Well, I wouldn't be racing in the Super Elites. I think I'd be racing in the Super Masters, actually. I have a slight stomach problem that holds me back. I think you can all work out what that is. It's pies, basically. That's all it is. Faulkner is ahead of Elliot Stanley at the moment for the battle for pole position. And Elliot Stanley hoping to be on the front row of the grid for the first time this season. He's really struggled in terms of his pace from time to time. He's not had the best of seasons from his point of view, but he is very, very quick and incredibly easy to adapt to the situations around him. He's done a fantastic job so far as Richard Evans improves to be third. He's improved his lap time but hasn't improved his position. Ami Jurga is still there in P4 at the moment from Rainbow, Pierce, Snape, Corrie, Bradbury, Will Checkley. Oh, that's David Darling having spun the kart. Now, where's he gone there? That's on the exit of Ashby he's gone. Then he makes it back. There's Sam Faulkner, the man who's about to become the champion if he just keeps it all together. And he's in pole position. He'll want to have another clean sweep. He has actually done the clean sweep, which is 3 victories out of 3. He's done that 4 times this season. His hand is in the air, so he's going to bail out and come into the pits. So Faulkner has done the best he can do, which is a 45.0, and I'm not sure that's going to be beaten. Across the line, still a few more lap times coming through as drivers try to find a bit more speed. John Corrie goes back up into 6th position. He's battling away with Matthew Pierce for that honour. As out of the final turn, that is the 100 of Aaron Banks, trying to beat a 46.594, but still only a whisker of a second behind David Darling. The gap between them has decreased down to just 1.5 seconds from the front to the back. So Sam Faulkner being nearly half a second ahead of Elliot Stanley really is impressive, because there's 1.5 seconds covering the whole grid at the moment. Truly sensational stuff. If there was no Sam Faulkner, there would be a second between them all. Stanley and Evans still fighting away for that second on the grid. The checkered flag comes out now, and that means that the first person across the line to take the checkered flag is going to be David Darling. Does he improve? No, he stays in 11th place. The times are going to continue coming through, and it looks like there's no personal bests as they come across the line, although Matthew Pierce has come up to 5th position now, ahead of Rainbow and Corrie. So he will start from the 3rd row of the grid if it all stays like that. Faulkner has already pulled into the pits, so he will not set another lap. There goes Rainbow over the line, and it's still only good enough for 6th position. And I think pretty much everybody else has completed their flying lap. The only people who have not are Ami Jurga, who I think has already pitted in, and Will Checkley, who's on a flying lap at the moment, and he's going to come through and out of the heel of the boot. Here he comes. So Will Checkley crossing the line. And it's not enough to improve. He remains in 10th position, but he'll be happy with the top 10 finish. He's a lot closer to the back of the midfield than he has been in previous weekends. So Will Checkley definitely more positive here than he has been in previous meetings. Ami Jurga is in the pits already, so that is the end of qualifying from the Super Elites. But 1.5 seconds covering the entire field, with Faulkner ahead of Stanley by 0.447 of a second. There's the official practice times. Faulkner ahead of Elliot Stanley on the front row of the grid. Richard Evans and Ami Jurga on the 2nd row from Matthew Pierce and Matt Rainbow. John Corrie and Tom Snape round out the top 4 rows, with Jason Bradbury, Will Checkley, David Darling and Aaron Banks. 1.5 seconds covering the whole field, and if there was no Sam Faulkner, it would be just a whisker over a second. That is how close it is in the birelART UK Series paddock. Absolutely incredible. If you want to be at the front, you've got to be an absolutely terrific racer. Here, Super 1, LGM, you've got the Arriva Drive Championships such as Club 100 and Daytona have been here, and it's birelART UK Series, a real stomping ground for the birelART UK Series, Whilton Mill. It's an absolutely terrific circuit and a fantastic paddock, and this is almost a second home to the drivers and teams in the championship. So here we are, Sam Faulkner and Elliot Stanley on the front row of the starting grid. A massive 0.4 of a second between Faulkner and Stanley, but it won't be that big in the race. Evans and Jurga on the 2nd row of the starting grid, and they are very closely matched in terms of 1 lap pace. Matthew Pierce and Matt Rainbow make it a Matt 3rd row as they come through on 5th and 6th position in the timing sheets. And again, just look at the times, very, very close indeed. John Corrie and Tom Snape, which are residents on the 4th row of the starting grid. And then we look towards 9th and 10th position on the grid. A very positive run there for Will Checkley alongside Jason Bradbury. Bradbury will be a little bit frustrated with 9th on the grid, but he can make that up. Checkley doing a good job there in 10th position. He beats David Darling and Aaron Banks to the 5th row of the grid. And Dave Burns will start the race from 13th position, having missed qualifying. And we've just heard news that Sam Faulkner is now going to start the race from the back of the starting grid. That is a very big controversy going into this race, and he will start the race from the back of the grid because his mechanical problems have clearly continued. He has ended up being late to the grid. So Sam Faulkner, as a result of being late to the grid, will now have to start the race from the back. I did say it wouldn't be 0.4 of a second by the end of the race. I didn't mean it to be that accurate. But what a disaster that is for Sam Faulkner, who will now start the race. You can see him there on the dummy grid. Elliot Stanley now takes up the lone residence on the front row of the grid. There is Sam Faulkner at the back of the queue on the left-hand side on the Facebook live stream. He will now start the race from the back of the grid. This is an absolute disaster from Sam Faulkner, missing the cut-off point to get into the holding area ready for the race, late to the grid. And that means he'll have to win the race from the back if he's going to win the race at all. And it is difficult when you think about the fact that we've got the likes of Richard Evans, Ami Jurga, Elliot Stanley, and several other very quick drivers like Matthew Pearce and Tom Snape, Matt Rainbow in there as well. He's got so much work to do from the back of the grid. But Sam Faulkner will be highly motivated and determined to do it. So let's see what happens. Away we go. And Elliot Stanley isn't moving. Elliot Stanley isn't moving. Now he gets going. But goodness me, that was close. Oh dear, that could have been a problem for both of the front row men. Now Elliot Stanley, although he left for the grid late, he should be able to get himself back to the front of the starting grid as normal. So it's going to be a difficult one, but that's certainly not the way he wanted to start. Let's put it that way. There is Sam Faulkner running around at the back of the field, as he now has to be for getting to the grid late. We always say the birelART UK series always throws up drama. I like to think of it as the British touring cars of karting. It's so close, so even, and there's some very, very tight battles around the circuit. And in this particular championship, in the Super Elites, we should get an amazing first race, especially with the potential champion for the 2017 season having to start the race now from the very back of the grid. They go around again. We're not starting the race just yet. 2 formation laps, of course, as we said. Sam Faulkner on 1927 points. 40 points back is Richard Evans. He can still lose the championship, but it's going to be very tough for Richard Evans to win. He knows he's basically got to win all 3 races and hope for an absolutely sick weekend for Sam Faulkner. But Richard Evans will be highly motivated alongside Elliot Stanley on what is now effectively the front row of the grid. Ami Jurga and Matthew Pearce will go to battle. Matthew Pearce has taken a victory so far this season. He has got that credit to his name, that first win of the year in Glanny Gorse Park, the 3rd round of the championship. But what a sensational weekend this is set to be now, with the main man, Sam Faulkner, on the verge of wrapping up the championship, but he will now start the race from the back of the grid. Just when he thinks he's got it all his own way, something has to be thrown a curveball. They tighten up, big style, into the heel of the boot. Out of the final turn, and Elliot Stanley is timing it the way he wants it to. He now gets the revs up, and we're racing! Good start from Evans. He's going to try and get in there with Elliot Stanley, but Stanley takes the lead. Matthew Pearce is straight through into 3rd position. Stanley runs deep. Evans is going to try and get alongside him. They will be side by side up Manuel's bank, but Stanley breaks later. Can he get the car stopped around the apex? Yes, he can. Stanley leads the way. Terrific stuff. And there's contact further back. Sam Faulkner got held up in that, so that's made his job even harder. Now, who is that that's gone right down to the back of the field? I think that's the new boy in the pack. I think that is 197 Dave Burns. We'll double check that, but a very tricky moment there as Sam Faulkner now is a little way off the back of the queue. It was Dave Burns, the 197, who's now got past David Darling in the 8. But out in front, it is Stanley who leads the way. Evans 2nd, Pearce 3rd, from Jurga, Corrie, Rainbow, Bradbury, Checkley, Snape and Faulkner. Banks is 11th from Darling and Burns. Burns now in front of David Darling, apologies. But this is the battle, and now Matthew Pearce has sensed he's got a great opportunity to win his 2nd race of the season. Elliot Stanley has yet to win this season. He was 4th in last year's championship. He's had no end of difficulties. Stanley has yet to finish in the top 3 in 2017, but he is getting on with this, and Richard Evans is struggling with the might of Matthew Pearce on his tail. Ami Jurga there in 4th position as well. Sam Faulkner trying to go for Tom Snape. Snape is keeping the door firmly shut as much as he can anyway. Oh, Faulkner can't get through. So Snape again shuts the door beautifully. And as they come off the final turn, Richard Evans is now trying to get back past Matthew Pearce, who has taken second position away. So Pearce in a second, Evans third, Jurga fourth. Faulkner's trying to make his move on Snape. He's going to get alongside him as they go towards Christmas. And he's through, but Snape will fight back. Oh, it's all getting very hectic, and now Evans has got pressure from Ami Jurga. Jurga trying to come down the inside of Ashby, can't get through. Corey tries to step up the inside of Ami Jurga, and that doesn't work. So out in front, Elliot Stanley leads. Matthew Pearce is second. Third is Richard Evans. That is not the top three I predicted coming into this one. But Stanley leads and is pulling away. Pearce in second. Evans, Jurga, Corey, Rainbow. Pearce is there in second position, in behind Stanley. Then Evans, Jurga, Corey, Rainbow, Bradbury, Faulkner and Snape. Now there's a yellow flag and we've got an absolutely irate, who is that that's off the circuit at the far side? I think that's Will Checkley. Yes, Will Checkley's got a problem there up at the toe of the boot. So Will Checkley absolutely devastated. And it looks as though Will Checkley's fine drive in the first heat has come to an end. Let's spot him. There he is, pushing the car back to the pits. Now, was that mechanical or was he taken off the circuit there? I didn't see it, to be fair, but he was right up there in the battle for the top six. So that is a devastating end to Will Checkley's first race, and hopefully there's more where that came from in terms of pace. But Will Checkley, absolutely disastrous. Over the line, Stanley is your leader. Second is Matthew Pearce. Then it's Richard Evans from Jurga, Corey, Rainbow. Faulkner now ahead of Bradbury and Snape. Faulkner's going to try and make a go of Matt Rainbow up the inside. Faulkner's going to slice through. Rainbow's going to try and defend and almost goes into the back of Corey to try and stay in front, but Faulkner gets through anyway. Sam Faulkner going through the field rapidly, like scissors through wet newspaper right now as Corey runs wide and Ashby. Faulkner's going to try and dive for the inside of Parker. He can't get through there. Now he dives for the inside of the exit and into Chapman. Faulkner is through and a spin from Rainbow. Oh, what a shame for Matt Rainbow. He spins the kart out of Chapman, and now he's going to get alongside Banks down the back straight. But Matt Rainbow right in the thick of it, and now down the order. Richard Evans has caught up to Matthew Pearce in the battle for second position. So those two look like they're going to kick it on. Faulkner up to fifth place now behind Ami Jurga. There's the replay. What a shame. Absolutely devastating for Matt Rainbow as he spins the car. Nothing he can do about it. He's just got to get back onto the racing line and keep pushing. He's got back past Banks, I can tell you that, and he's going to try and catch the back of Snape. Meanwhile, Richard Evans is close to the back of Matthew Pearce, trying to come through. Can he find a way on the inside into the boot? He's having a think about it. He doesn't want to go too risky too early. He still wants to keep good track position to win the final. But he is in front of his main championship rival at the moment, Sam Faulkner. Elliot Stanley, meanwhile, he's in a different postcode out in front. Much to the delight of Matty Wright. What a start, mate. Yes, Stano, he says on the feed. And up the hill, up towards Christmas. Here comes Richard Evans. This is his best chance yet of getting back past Matthew Pearce, and he's there. And the door's left wide open. Ami Jurga nearly gets through as well. So Ami Jurga trying to make her way through. Can't quite get the move done. And in behind, look who's come back. It's Sam Faulkner. Number 5 is P5, trying to get on terms with Ami Jurga. And up the inside, oh, Jurga wasn't ready for him there. And Jurga, unfortunately, slips back into 5th position, trying again to go with Sam Faulkner now to move up the order, as Pearce has another go at Richard Evans, keeps his foot in on the inside there, down the run, to the final turn, runs out wide. Faulkner's going to dive up the inside into oblivion. Amazing move from Faulkner. Terrific overtake. He used the energy coming off the final turn and stormed up the inside into oblivion and zoom. Thank you very much. I'll go after my championship rival now, if that's all right with you. Even if it isn't, I'm going to do it anyway as he charges up to Ashby. And Ami Jurga is left to battle with Matthew Pearce for 4th position now. Corey is 6th, 7th is Snape, 8th is Bradbury, 9th is Rainbow, and 10th is Banks in front of Burns and Darling. And having a terrific scrap over 11th position a little bit further back, but the stream is watching Evans as Faulkner is through into 2nd place now. So Faulkner is into 2nd position, past Richard Evans. Let's see how he did it. Dives up the inside. Nothing Evans can do about it, and Faulkner is through into Chapman. So now chasing after Elliot Stanley. Let's see if Stanley can hang on in front of Sam Faulkner. There is a minute and a half to go, plus a lap for Elliot Stanley, and the gap is about 2 seconds. What can Sam Faulkner do to get the gap down? Many people here around the circuit will be delighted for Elliot Stanley if he gets this race victory. He has yet to be in the top 3 this season, and he's absolutely on rails out front. But Faulkner is the fastest man consistently over the season. Richard Evans is right in his wheel tracks. He's going to try and put Faulkner off in the closing stages of this race, but it looks good for Elliot Stanley out front. This is the same man who had the poor luck at Fulbeck earlier in the year when he was battling in the top 6, Elliot Stanley, and rolled the kart over in the chicane by the pits at Fulbeck. Rolled the kart over. The race was red flagged and he was declared as 7th place at the very end of the day, but what an amazing race it was. And somehow Elliot Stanley has been on a real roller coaster ride since then. But here this weekend, he's had a good kart underneath him. I spoke to him at the end of yesterday, and for once he was beaming from ear to ear. He says, yep, I got a good kart. I know I can do well this weekend. And he wasn't joking. Into the boot, left, double right, and then down the short drop into the final corner for Elliot Stanley. He is only 2 laps away from the victory now. Faulkner is not catching him either. Well, he wasn't. Now he is, but he's a bit too little too late. He's got to go 2 seconds faster than him, even to get on the tail of Elliot Stanley in the final 2 laps. And Stanley's pace is so good right now. 45s all the way. Faulkner's done a 45.2 compared to Stanley on a 45.5, but that's not going to be enough to take the victory away from Elliot Stanley. He's just got to keep on going here, Elliot Stanley. And it looks like he'll win his first race of the season in the final weekend of the year to make up for all the heartbreak, all of the misery, all of the hardship. Elliot Stanley driving beautifully out in front of Sam Faulkner, who's now left Richard Evans behind. 4th place for Pierce in front of Ami Jurga. This is going to be an emotional victory for Elliot Stanley if he gets it done. 1 lap to go. He leads Sam Faulkner by 1.6 seconds. Just keep it going, Elliot. 1 last lap, and he will finally join the rank of winners that we've had over the course of the season. There's only been 4 of them so far this year. Sam Faulkner, Richard Evans, Ami Jurga and Matthew Pierce, who are the top 4 in the championship. But in this final race of the season, final race meeting of the season, I should say, it looks as though Elliot Stanley is finally going to get a top spot. He's worked so hard all year. His best finish of the year prior to this race has been a 5th place at Butmore Park. But now, finally, it's all come good again for Elliot Stanley. Into the boot for the last time. I'm actually getting a little bit emotional. I know how hard it's been for him all year. Out of the final turn, and Elliot Stanley has won it. Brilliant, brilliant work from Elliot Stanley. 2nd for Sam Faulkner, 3rd for Richard Evans. From Pierce, Jurga, Corrie and Snake, Bradbury is in 8th place. 9th will be Matt Rainbow. Devastated he wasn't further up. Banks in 10th position. 11th will be David Darling, who does in the end beat Dave Burns in their little battle. But Elliot Stanley, euphoric in victory. Absolutely terrific. Through everything that's come so far this year, through all of the misery, he has finally got himself a good setup, a good kart, and on the last lap, Ami Jurga has broken down up at, that's just after Parker, she's pulled off the circuit. So Ami Jurga, a disappointing end to her race, finishes 5th, but mechanical problems with the kart as she slows down. But what a victory for Elliot Stanley. Emphatically brilliant today in the first race. Amazing. Elliot Stanley from Sam Faulkner, Richard Evans, Matthew Pierce, Ami Jurga, John Corrie, that's your top 6. Tom Snake, so close to it. Jason Bradbury in 8th place, Matt Rainbow, Aaron Banks, David Darling, Dave Burns, and unfortunately the retirement from earlier on of Will Checkley. Absolutely terrific stuff. Now, watching the stream at home, we have a racing driver who has been up and down the length and breadth of British karting over the last few seasons and is establishing himself as a big name as he goes. Sebastian Bloch is watching the field at the moment. He's been racing all sorts of different types of karting championships over the course of the seasons. And just a quick message from him. Sebastian Bloch asks, is it like Super 1? Well, it is in the sense that it's a national British championship, but The only other similarity, really, is that it's a karting championship. All of the chassis are the same, all of the engines are the same, all of the tyres are the same. It is effectively a one-make championship. You all get given exactly the same equipment, exactly the same parts, exactly the same tyres. Nobody has an unfair advantage. They all have the same equal equipment. But now we're going to discuss the Super Elites pre-final. Elliot Stanley from pole position after his earlier win, his first win of the year. Alongside him, Sam Faulkner, who fought his way back from the back of the grid to second. Richard Evans and Matthew Pearce, third and fourth on the starting grid, sharing the second row. Ami Jurga and John Corrie together on the third row of the starting grid. And then we have Snape and Bradbury on the fourth row of the grid together in seventh and eighth. Rounding out the top 10, Rainbow and Banks. So they are there together on row 5. David Darling and Dave Burns together on row 6 of the grid. They were having a pretty awesome battle, and we're all hoping that Will Checkley has the same sort of speed he had in race 1. He didn't have the luck, but he did have the speed, and if he keeps that up, he will be knocking on the door of top 6 again, as he was in race 1. So this could still end up being Will Checkley's best performance of the year, and he will be hoping that is the case as he runs there at the front end of the grid. So the drivers in the Super Elites getting ready for the race. I've not heard anything more about the Junior 100 race, so I assume things are as they stand. So we will double check, and let's see if things continue on their way. But we've not heard any more about the debate of the Junior 100s. I think it's going to be left as that. But if we hear any differences, we will let you know, obviously. But at the moment, Tyrone Stansfield is still expecting to be the winner of the race. Now, hang on a minute, because there has now been a declaration. We will talk about it in a minute, but there has been a decision taken. Now, out of the pits goes Matthew Pearce and the 7 of Jonathan Corrie to lead us out onto the circuit. Now, where is Elliot Stanley? Again, a sluggish start for Elliot Stanley to get back out onto the circuit. And we're now being told that there is going to be a penalty handed out. And it is going to be to Tyrone Stansfield. Now, that is going to be a 2-position penalty, though that will dock him to 3rd position, 1 place in front of Harry Barlow, and that means that Harry Graham has been confirmed the winner of that previous pre-final. So Harry Graham wins it from Nicky Taylor and Tyrone Stansfield, who still finishes ahead of Harry Barlow. And he did say, well, the only person I want to beat today is Harry Barlow. I don't care about winning races. That's probably not what he meant, but he still finishes ahead of Harry Barlow and is docked 2 places to drop to 3rd. So Graham wins, and that is Harry Graham's first win of the 2017 season. So he can be pretty happy about that. He would rather have done it on the road, of course, but a win is a win is a win. Nicky Taylor 2nd, Tyrone Stansfield 3rd, and Harry Barlow 4th. From then onwards, it is pretty much the same. Now, Chris Daines has messaged us and has talked about the incident. Nothing wrong with that at all. Outside, you will always lose out, I'm afraid. Nicky Richardson says, hard but fair, I'm afraid. Again, there's a couple of people who have had a couple of differing opinions about that one, but it's been judged. And a tough call though it was, but it has been judged that that was a move that is worthy of docking Tyrone Stansfield 2 places. Whether we agree with that or not is no longer up for discussion. That is at the discretion of the race officials. They have to go with what's been seen at the scene by the marshals. Maybe we didn't quite see what has happened. And it is provisional, of course, because it can be appealed. So that is something that we will discuss. But the engine revs are rising as we're getting ready to race. And now it's go, go, go for Elliot Stanley. Sam Faulkner gets alongside him. Tightens up to the inside line and Faulkner leads. Pearce 2nd and there's a spin. Corrie's gone. Oh, and there's a big accident further back. Now, I think that's going to be... Is that going to be a race continuing? Well, it looks like all the drivers are carrying on. Jason Bradbury was involved in that. And I'm not sure who the other one was. I think it might have been Amy Jurga. I'll just double check. Yes, I think it was Amy Jurga who was the other one involved in that, but she's carried on regardless. So the race is going to continue, even despite the impact for Amy Jurga. She carries on. She clearly is okay to keep racing. But very exciting stuff. Wow, this is absolutely amazing stuff as out of the final turn they come. And down the main straight, Sam Faulkner leads the way in the Super Elites. Second is Richard Evans from Stanley, Pierce, Rainbow. Then it is the 240 of Will Checkley, who's having an amazing race in 6th place. Banks is 7th from Burns, Darling, Snape, Corrie, Bradbury and Jurga. So Faulkner out in front. Rainbow's giving pressure to Matthew Pierce. So Rainbow's going to try and make the move up the inside of Pierce. Thank you very much. I'll take the place. No problem at all with that. And Matt Rainbow up into P4. He's having a really strong weekend in terms of pace. He got a little bit unlucky in the first race in terms of position from that earlier spin, but he's got time to make it up. And he's certainly getting on with that quickly. Meanwhile, Corrie and Bradbury are battling away for position. In fact, Bradbury's made the move now on John Corrie. So Faulkner leads the way. Evans, Stanley, Rainbow, Pierce, Checkley, Banks, Snape, Darling, Burns. And then we've got Bradbury, Corrie and Amy Jurga still battling away. It's up the inside. Stanley makes the move on Richard Evans. Richard Evans tries to get the switch back, but Stanley has taken that place legitimately. Back in his 2nd position. Elliot Stanley having a great weekend here at Whilton Mill. Absolutely terrific racing. But what an absolutely brilliant performance so far. And an absolutely amazing battle thus far. So some great racing here in the SuperElites125s. And as they come off the final turn, Sam Faulkner is still your leader, but Stanley in 2nd with Evans, Rainbow and Matthew Pierce close in behind. 240 in there as well, that's Will Checkley. In front of the 100 of Aaron Banks, then Tom Snape, Darling, Burns, Bradbury, Corrie and Amy Jurga. Terrific scrap this for 3rd position as Richard Evans tries to hold off the attentions of the very feisty Matt Rainbow, with Matthew Pierce in there as well. Amy Jurga in 6th position. Then it is the 100 of Aaron Banks in front of Tom Snape. Now John Corrie has got pressure from Amy Jurga, who's closing up. Can't believe Amy Jurga's still got that kind of pace and is still only 10 seconds off the back of the leaders when she had that impact with the fence at the first corner. Terrific stuff. So great battling so far, but Faulkner is your race leader. 2nd place for Elliot Stanley as he runs ahead of Richard Evans. 4th place, that is still Matt Rainbow trying to make his impression on the race. There's a great squabble further back as now Dave Burns has got Jason Bradbury, John Corrie and Amy Jurga all over the back of him as they battle away for the lower positions. In fact, Bradbury's going through. Corrie's going to try and make the opportunistic move to go through. Doesn't make it, then does. And now Jurga's going to try and pop herself into the mix as well. But up in the front, it's still Faulkner getting away from Stanley. Rainbow, Evans and Pierce. So Rainbow's up to 3rd now in the 291. Difficult to watch all of the same bits of track that the stream is because the Facebook stream can only watch one part of the track. I'm having to watch about 2 or 3 to catch all the battles. But Rainbow in 3rd place at the moment in front of Richard Evans. Doing a grand job. Will Checkley in 6th place having a great race. But Matthew Pierce is not done yet. He wants to try and take on and beat Richard Evans in a straight fight. Off the top of the hill they come. Terrific racing and a great battle all the way through. But it's been so tight. It's been so tense and very tough indeed. They come off the turn. Through the left-hander at Chapman's, onto the back straight. And Sam Faulkner is just having a Sunday drive in the countryside here in Northamptonshire. Elliot Stanley's broken clear of the 3rd place battle, so he looks safe in 2nd for the moment. But this is going beautifully well for our 3rd position man too, Matt Rainbow, in front of Richard Evans and Matthew Pierce. Will Checkley having a great race in P6, although he is now being caught by Tom Snape and Aaron Banks. So that could be an interesting battle later on. But Will Checkley is doing his best to keep the pace up. Tom Snape getting closer. 3rd position, still very close. Rainbow, Evans and Pierce. You're watching them on the Facebook stream at the moment. Up towards the left-hander at Parker. Down the drop. And up towards Chapman's. Into the left at Chapman's. And back onto the back straight once again. Incredibly tough racing all the way through as they come into the boot once again. And up the inside goes Evans, takes the place from Rainbow, leaves the door wide open for Pierce to get through as well. He's going to keep his foot in. Rainbow keeps his and keeps the position. Now, that is borderline track limits, I would say. But what are the officials going to think about that one? Because he went wide in order to keep the position. That's where the debate is going to come from. So incredibly close battling. It's non-MSA racing, don't forget. So it's all down to the... Oh, Matt Rainbow dives up the inside of Evans, then goes very wide. He threw that all into the inside of Ashby and ends up behind Matthew Pierce as a result. So perhaps a little bit too hungry there, Matt Rainbow. He will try again. Further back, we've got Will Checkley and Tom Snake battling away for positions as well. But it looks to me as though we've lost one of them. That's Dave Burns out of the race, I'm afraid to say. So Dave Burns has pulled off into the pits and retirement. But Faulkner is your leader still, in front of Elliot Stanley. Now, interestingly, Faulkner's gap is 1.9 seconds. And it's still relatively large, the gap between him and Elliot Stanley, but it's not as dominant as we've seen from him in the past. So Faulkner just controlling the pace at the moment. Stanley in second, Evans third, Pierce fourth, Rainbow fifth. Snape is now up to sixth. He's got his way past Will Checkley. And Aaron Banks is in there in eighth place in front of Bradbury, Corrie, Jurga and Darling. With, sadly, Dave Burns, more mechanical problems for him. He is out of the race. So across the line with 3 minutes and 10 to go. Plus 1 lap, Sam Faulkner looking mightily in control of this one as Rainbow again tries to battle onto the back of Matthew Pierce. They come off of Crook, through Fine Lady, up Manuel's Bank, up towards Christmas Corner, into the right. Coming off the turn, nice and straightforward for the moment, but it's still very close and intense indeed, as now we've got a close battle on our hands off the turn. Bouncing across the exit of the apex as they go into the left-hander, down the drop towards Chapman. Into Chapman's and back onto the back straight, and still Matthew Pierce hangs firm in front of Matt Rainbow, ducking down in the car, trying to get better traction down the straight and off the turn. And Matt Rainbow still pushing hard. Behind them, Tom Snape is trying to close in, but he's still a good 4 seconds back. So he's got to keep pushing and hope that there's an opportunity. Make that 5 seconds back now. He just keeps on dropping back down the order. So it's not so easy to keep on top of things for the team, for the drivers up front. But Matt Rainbow tucked in behind Matthew Pierce at the moment. Richard Evans in third. Faulkner is in the lead, extending the gap a little bit over Elliot Stanley. The gap is stable at 2.3 at the moment. But there's some terrific race action here as Sam Faulkner continues to lead out front in the SuperElites125 pre-final, and this will pretty much put the kibosh on it for everybody else. This will almost certainly seal the deal for Sam Faulkner in the Drivers' Championship. So the battle is still very intense indeed, and the racing is going to be fantastic right to the finish. But Faulkner has a decent advantage now out in front, and he's looking good to wrap up the championship in fine style. He has been incredibly strong all season long, of course, so it's not just about one particular move. But this is going very well indeed, and Sam Faulkner leads the way. Stanley second, Evans third, Pierce and Rainbow still battling away for fourth place. Snape is sixth ahead of Will Checkley, and Aaron Banks still there in eighth place in front of Jason Bradbury. Obviously, having gone off at that first corner, the drivers who are involved in that are still doing the best they can. John Corrie in front of Ami Jurga, in behind Bradbury, and then David Darling in 12th place at the moment in time. But thus far, no major dramas that have really spiced things up to a degree. Rainbow's still trying to get back on terms with Matthew Pierce, if he can, but it will not be easy, and he is going to make life tough for himself, continuing to hassle him. But it's Sam Faulkner who leads the way. Elliot Stanley finally on good form here at Whilton Mill, running in second. Richard Evans in third, unable to match the pace. Fourth is Matthew Pierce in front of Rainbow. Oh, and there's contact between Corrie and Bradbury. For the second time in this race, they have got themselves into an incident. And this time, Jason Bradbury looks as though he's going to have the long walk home. He's going to try and get back onto the circuit, but his car is stationary. out on the exit of Ashby. So we could have a red flag situation here unless he could get the card off the line. He can. So Sam Faulkner will have waved yellows as he passes the position of Jason Bradbury's kart. And Jason looks decidedly disappointed. Not the way he wanted this race to go at all. And he is out of the kart. His helmet is off and he's out of the way of the incident. He's pulled the kart off the racing line, but it will still be yellow flags there, I think, pretty much to the death as we're into the final lap. Sam Faulkner running out in front of Elliot Stanley by 3.5 seconds now. He's really decided to kick on with some fastest laps and extend the gap. But Richard Evans is not done yet. He wants to close up on Elliot Stanley and take that second place from him. The gap is about half a second. So if Elliot Stanley makes one blip, then he will be through. But I don't think that's Elliot Stanley's style. He's got himself good rhythm, good pace, and the kart is running very well, so I would not see that to be a big problem. A checkered flag is going to come out for Sam Faulkner. He's done an absolutely brilliant job all the way through this race, and it is going to be a victory for Sam Faulkner. He's done it! The 5th different winner in the 6th. Trying to figure out how many different winners we've had today. We've had 7 different winners now. That's amazing. 7 races and 7 different winners. Truly sensational stuff. And Sam Faulkner takes the victory. So not a bad start to Sam Faulkner's championship winning weekend as far as he's concerned. And I think now Sam Faulkner has effectively done enough to be crowned the champion. We'll just keep it going and we won't announce anything yet until we know for sure. But so far, Sam Faulkner is in the box seat to have won the championship with that victory. And he knows what that means. So it's just a case of doing the last race and keeping it sensible, keeping it safe and keeping it on the black stuff. And Sam Faulkner will effectively be the champion in the 2017 season. Matthew Pearce and Matt Rainbow high-fiving his mates on the fence, many of whom are from the Junior Championship and many of whom will be joining him on the grid in the Super Elites next year, of course. Tom Snape and Will Checkley likewise high-five as they come in. It's a very friendly paddock, this one. A lot of the racers in the other classes watch the other drivers and they hang out together. It's a very social community, the birelART UK Series paddock as well. It's not quite got the same aggressive stance of some of the other karting meetings around the country. But it's great to see such an amazing paddock of people who love their motorsport, who love their racing as much as they possibly can, and to really, really love what this race is all about, what this championship is all about. So, a really, really good race there from the Super Elites, and it's a victory for Sam Faulkner, a very important one as well. Do keep your messages coming in on the Facebook stream for the rest of the day, because we've got 5 races to go before the day has ended, and there are some pretty exciting races to come. The finals in all 4 classes, as well as the pre-final before that for the Super Masters. We've got some spectators of all shapes and sizes there, as we have a few sheep who have wandered over to try and get a decent seat for the finals. Not quite as many of that kind of spectator as we get at Glenagor's Park, but still good to see them nonetheless, as obviously one of them is going to try for a race entry maybe next year. But Sam Faulkner is the winner here in the Super Elites 125 class at Whilton Mill in the final round of the birelART UK Karting Series. Elliot Stanley second from Richard Evans, only just, but second nonetheless. Matthew Pearce ahead of Matt Rainbow in the final reckoning, with Tom Snape in 6th place ahead of a much rejuvenated Will Checkley. Aaron Banks in 8th, Amy Jurga somehow fighting back to 9th place, with Jonathan Corrie and David Darling finishing up in 10th and 11th place. Retirements for Jason Bradbury and Dave Burns. And I wonder how big a headache Amy Jurga has after her trip into the fence at the first corner, because that looked pretty nasty. But she got going and carried on, and that meant we didn't have to have another red flag. And now, of course, we get ourselves ready for the crowning of a champion. We'll go and talk to the man on pole position, having won the previous pre-final and now starting from the front. It's been a tough race all season for him. But he goes into the last round of the championship with the pressure of no pressure at all. Sam Faulkner, pole position after a pre-final victory, a last race of the year. This is just a bit of fun for you now, surely.
Yeah, hopefully just finish the year on a high.
It's been a tough season all year. You've had some great opposition from the likes of Richard Evans, Matthew Pearce, Ami Jurga. Coming away as the champion out of it this year must be pretty satisfying.
Yeah, we're close to being champion last year, but it's nice to seal it this year.
So one more time with feeling?
Hopefully, yeah.
Well done, Sam. Good job this year.
Thanks.
So let's talk to the man alongside him who's had a win and a second this year and in fantastic style in the final weekend of the season. Elliot Stanley, you've got so much support back home rooting you on, but what a weekend it's been, a complete transformation of fortune for you.
Yeah, it's been a really good weekend this weekend, so hopefully carry it on to next season.
And of course, you always want to end the season as you mean to go on in the next, so potentially knocking him off the top spot again, a nice way to do that.
I'll try.
Well done, Elliot.
Cheers.
So he lines up on the front row of the starting grid. I haven't spoken to him all weekend, actually. He's been hiding away very carefully, but he's not going to get away from me now. Richard Evans. Richard, third position on the grid. Some great battles all weekend so far, and in the first two races, you look like you've been having a bit of a mission to keep people off your back all weekend.
Yeah, obviously I wasn't here yesterday, so it's took me quite a few laps to wake up today. So hopefully might have a bit of pace in the final, but we'll see.
It must be quite interesting considering that you took a day off yesterday, but you're right back on the pace. I mean, that kind of shows the calibre of driver you are.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
You're allowed to go blow on your own trumpet. That's absolutely fine.
No, say Sam's have been quick, and say Elliot as well. So, you know, if we could all get a clean race, it should be good.
Well, we're looking forward to your last race of the season with gusto. Well done, Richard.
Cheers.
Right, who else can we have a word with? Matthew Pearce, fourth on the grid. We've got time to wander over a few of the drivers in the Super Elites. Matthew, another reasonable weekend. The pace is there when you've got a good card underneath you. Last race of the season. Can we get on the podium?
Well, yeah, I hope so. Yeah, the top four are really close in time, so hopefully good, hard race, get on the podium.
Yet again, it has been ridiculously close from qualifying this morning all the way to now. Everybody's so evenly matched for lap time. Where do you make the difference around a circuit as tight as this?
Don't know, you tell me.
Right, I will learn and give you some notes in the winter. Cheers, Matthew. Why are you asking me? Why would I tell you? How would I know? I'm just a fat bloke who talks rubbish. Anyway, Matt Rainbow, let's have a word with Matt after what's been a tough season, but here this weekend, plenty of pace and definitely a chance of a podium.
Yeah, I mean, we've missed a couple of rounds this year due to exams and had some bad luck, but yeah, when we have been competitive, we've been up at the front end, so hopefully we can do that next year.
And there's some great drivers that you're matching for pace who have been at the front all season. Gives you a lot of confidence going into the winter.
Yeah, I mean, I was having some good battles in the last race, so yeah, it's good, close racing, and that's what we like.
Good job. Finish the season as you mean to go on?
Yeah. All right.
Righto. Let's have a quick word with Tom Snape, another man who's been battling away for every corner and every apex all weekend. Tom, started the race with a bit of a hiccup, but you've been making your way through the field again pretty quickly, and there's been some great overtaking moves. Are you in the zone at the moment?
Yeah, not done as well as I hoped today so far, but hopefully can turn it around in this last race.
And there's been some pretty exciting battles in the first two races. You've been kept on your toes, but what you really want is to get a good break and be up amongst the podium runners early.
Yeah, I need a good start to keep up there with the others really and have a good race.
Fair play. Well, we wish you all the best and have a good one.
Thank you.
Right, there were some shenanigans at the last start in the pre-final. I want to see how the gymnastic lady that is Ami Jurga is doing. Ami, that looked like a pretty hard whack, and I think you were basically falling out of your cart at one point and managed to keep going. How was the back after that one?
No, I feel completely fine, to be honest. I just bounced back in, so it wasn't too bad.
And obviously it hadn't slowed you down any. The cart was actually ultimately fine because you were able to get back into the battle and make up some places.
Yeah, I don't know how, but it was fine after that.
So you got away with that one scot-free, a lucky scare. What about getting back towards the front where you were before?
Yeah, I'll definitely try, but see.
Excellent. Cheers, Ami. One more, I think, before we have to run back upstairs, and that's Will Checkley, the man who I've been so impressed by all the way through the weekend. a couple of decent laps in qualifying, and we thought, well, that's a good start, but it's just kept going. The pace has been there. You had some poor fortune in the heat, but in the pre-final, right back in there.
Yeah, qualifying was pretty good. Car felt excellent, and yeah, I think we got about...
Well, now there's a genuine chance that you could be safely in the top 6, battling away with guys like Matt and Tom. I think you could end up on a high in this one.
Yeah, hopefully. Car feels good, so hopefully I can get a good start and hopefully get ahead of Matt.
He's got your number, mate. Thanks very much, buddy. So that'll do for the moment. I think we need to rush upstairs and continue on for the rest of the season. Work on your interviews over the winter if you want one in March. Anyway, we're going to continue on with the final race of the season in the Super Elites 125s. It's been a great season. Sam Faulkner has done enough to seal the championship here at Whilton Mill, but now it's a race for bragging rights once again, and it comes down to the wire in fantastic fashion with some amazing racing in the last few races of the season. But in this one in particular, it's all going to come down to who has the nerve and who has the ability to push it to the death. So the grid for the Super Elites final as the whistle goes. Sam Faulkner, first position. Alongside him, Elliot Stanley, Richard Evans and Matthew Pearce on the second row of the grid. Third position, Matt Rainbow and Tom Snape. They will share residency on the third row, with the fourth row going to Will Checkley and Aaron Banks. They will battle all the way through. Amy Jurger and John Corrie will be there in the top 10. They are going to be on the recovery trail after a disappointing start to their previous race. David Darling and Jason Bradbury on the 6th row of the grid. And then Dave Burns will take up residency in the 13. So there's some support from all corners as everybody gets themselves ready for the last race of the Super Elites 125 season. Jenny Evans wishes Richard good luck. Always ever the supporter and at his side all the way through the season. And also some family support from Emma Checkley, wishing Will good luck in the final race of the season. And some messages coming in from the previous race as well that I think it's worth pointing out as well. We'll try and get those through on the second formation lap. Joe Patterson, former champion in the birelART UK Series, says, well done, Tyrone, well-deserved champion. And from the other faction, of course, we get the message from Julie Douglas Barlow as well. Well said, Harry Barlow, good sportsmanship. We are so proud of you and always number one in our eyes. That's the kind of paddock we have here at the birelART UK Series. Some amazing racing drivers and some amazing supporters. And it's a fabulous paddock that we have here in the birelART UK Series with some amazing personalities, some of which are going to become part of it in 2018. Alicia Parmowski was watching the race that she'll be part of in 2018. Awesome race, and well done, Ty Stansfield. But now it's time to get the race underway for the main event. And Scott Smith gives us one final word of encouragement. Run those machines as they come out of the final turn and ready for the action. For the final time in 2017, the birelART Super Elites 125 are go! Good start from Elliot Stanley. He tucks in behind Sam Faulkner. The field makes its way through Oblivion and Crook without incident. But Sam Faulkner's trying to break away early. He's got himself a gap because Richard Evans is trying to get up the inside of Elliot Stanley. Stanley runs to the outside, has no room to play with. And Richard Evans takes the place. Bit of a problem for John Corrie. Corrie's gone off and Aaron Banks goes off with him. I think there's been some contact. A couple of cards in jeopardy. One of them is the 203, I think that is. No, it can't be the 203. We haven't had the 203 out here all day long, so somebody certainly dropping back. I'll try and pick up who that is. I think that might have been... Oh, I really hope that's not Will Checkley in trouble again. He's had all sorts of difficulties already. Well, Mammy Jurger has got in behind Jason Bradbury, and I'm afraid to say it is Will Checkley who got himself involved in that little incident with Aaron Banks. Banks has now rejoined, but difficulties there for Banks, and I think we have a retirement. Let's see what happened on the exit of Christmas. Oh, it just got a little bit too close for comfort, and that's a spin there. A couple of drivers avoiding. Will Checkley, John Corrie trying to get out of danger. Aaron Banks being spat out and into a spin as a result. Just Skittles as they came out of Christmas that time by. Faulkner leads the way, Evans second, third is Stanley. Oh, a little bit of a battle going on as Matthew Pearce gets close to Stanley. Up the inside goes Rainbow, he takes Tom Snape. So Rainbow gets past Tom Snape, Amy Jurger's watching and waiting for an opportunity to come up into the top 6. Bradbury is 8th, 9th is Burns in front of John Corrie, David Darling and Will Checkley. Aaron Banks is still in the race, he's in 13th position, but he is still going. And what a battle this is between Snape, Rainbow and Jurger. Snape back through past Rainbow and Amy Jurger getting very close. As Rainbow gets a good exit off the turn, tries to make the move for Parker, isn't close enough to take the risk. So he has to hang back in position. Now this is a replay of Rainbow defending his position and Snape just going right, round the outside it is then. Absolutely amazing from Tom Snape as he takes the position. What an absolutely sensational performance. What a terrific performance this has been so far. And that's an off. Now who's that that's gone? I think that is Amy Jurger. Is that Amy Jurger at the back of the chase? No, actually that's Will Checkley again. What a disaster. Will Checkley has been faster this weekend than he's been all season. But problems with his cart as he pulls it off at Chapman. Stationary yellow flags. And a great battle as Tom Snape slices across the bow of the 291 of Matt Rainbow. As the racing continues. Oh, Dave Burns has got a big problem. Now that looks like smoke coming off the tyre. I wonder if that's rubbing with the side pod. Dave Burns has been given the mechanical flag. Definitely something not right with that car. So problems, I'm afraid to say, then for Dave Burns as the battle continues on. But he has been given the mechanical flag, the 197. So the battle will still continue on, but not for Dave Burns. His race will be over, as already is Will Checkley's. So Dave Burns is going to bring the cart into the pit. No, he's not. I thought he was going to bring the cart into the pits, but now he is getting the mechanical flag. So Dave Burns, his race will be over. And unfortunately, that is game over for the 2017 season for both of them. Both Dave Burns and Will Checkley. Sam Faulkner, meanwhile, is just out in front enjoying the race. Richard Evans second, Stanley third from Pearce, Snape, Rainbow, Jurger and Bradbury. Absolutely amazing battle and to an absolutely fantastic performance. And here comes Tom Snape up the inside, making the move on Matthew Pearce, and he's got him. Absolutely terrific performance. Excellent display, absolutely excellent racing so far. And Tom Snape is through past Matthew Pearce and Matt Rainbow. Amy Jurger still very much a part of this battle. So great racing all the way through. And terrific racing right from the start. We knew that this SuperElites125 race was not going to be dull, and we were right. Sam Faulkner leads the way. Second is Richard Evans in front of Elliot Stanley. And then this amazing battle for fourth place. Tom Snape in front of Matthew Pearce, Matt Rainbow, Amy Jurger and Jason Bradbury, all of whom want to finish their season on a strong note. But at the moment, Sam Faulkner is just doing what he does best, out in front and doing an amazing job. So it's been a tough battle all the way through, but Rainbow now makes the move on Matthew Pearce. And he got that one done beautifully at Ashby. It was almost as if Matthew Pearce wasn't ready for that one. There is Will Checkley on the sidelines, and it's such a shame because Emma Checkley has just written in, Will, we're so proud of you, keep smiling. He is one of the happiest, chirpiest blokes in the paddock, Will Checkley. He's a great favourite of mine. And sadly, his season has come to an end, not in the fashion he would have liked. But you can't win them all, and surely next year he will be back for more. But there's great racing here in the birelART UK Series paddock, and it's still not done in the 125 Super Elites. So an amazing battle. So let's see how the racing continues on into the closing stages of this final race of the season for Sam Faulkner. It's just pedal around, keep going, and hold on to the advantage. For Tom Snape, it's anything but. It's pressure on, mission engaged, challenge accepted, all of the rest of them, as they battle away up to the top of the boat. So through the boot, and down towards the heel, pits bend, into the final turn. And back onto the main straight once more. Faulkner from Evans, Stanley, and then Snape, Rainbow, Pearce, Jurga and Bradbury. But that man is your leader. Sam Faulkner leading the way comfortably. Fought his way from the back to second in race 1, won race 2, and that was enough to clinch the championship. But now he's just out there driving because he loves it. Evans in second, Stanley in third. Here's the move for fourth from Rainbow. Up the inside of Tom Snape, and he's there. Great final race this from Matt Rainbow as he puts himself now into P4. So Rainbow is fourth in front of Snape, Pearce, Jurga and Bradbury. Ninth is Banks. Ninth on the road is Banks, I should say, because he has actually been lapped. But ninth is Corrie. 10th place is David Darling in front of Aaron Banks, with retirements from Dave Burns and Will Checkley. But Sam Faulkner is out in the lead, doing an absolutely amazing job. Second place for Richard Evans, third for Elliot Stanley. Rainbow's got so much pressure from Snape, who runs deep at Ashby. This is a chance for Matthew Pearce. Pearce has got a chance to go for him. And Matthew Pearce is one of the fastest drivers in the championship. Hasn't quite had the pace he wanted coming into this one, but he's done an absolutely amazing job. A really nice well wish from Nicky Taylor, who has thanked his fellow competitors. Well done to Tyrone and all of my fellow competitors. Love being in the paddock all year. This series rocks. Finished fourth in my first year. You've done yourself proud, Nicky. A brilliant job and worked very hard for it. Up the inside comes Matthew Pearce, making the move on Snape. Has to back out of it in the end through Christmas. They come off the curb once again. Up through the right flick at Inkermans, into the right hand hairpin at Ashby. Down the Kenny straight. Jurga and Bradbury still very close to them actually, so they can't afford to ease off. Into Parker, down the drop, into Chapman's. And then they come onto the back straight once again. Down towards the boot, the end of the lap. Into the ankle, into the double apex of the toe. It doesn't really give you much of an indication that. You think it's just one flowing hairpin. It is actually two quick rights in succession. You only need to brake for the first one, of course. You can get back on the power for the second quite quickly, and then through the heel of the boot. It's an amazing lap, this at Whilton Mill. I've walked many a lap around here, yet to actually take a kart out there and drive the circuit, but that is my goal for the 2018 season. We'd quite like to sample a kart at every meeting if possible next season, just to give an idea as to what the track is like, or at least take a bike or something, maybe even a Sinclair C5 if there's one knocking about. I'll do anything if it means getting a chance to go around a racetrack. So Faulkner leading, Evans second, Stanley third, Rainbow, Snape, Pearce, Jurga, Bradbury, Corrie and Darling. Banks is a lap down, and Burns and Checkley are no longer racing in the event as they have retired from their last race of the season. 4 minutes and 40 plus a lap left to go. The victory is pretty much done and dusted. There could still be a challenge for second place because Elliot Stanley is still reasonably close to Richard Evans. He's within a second of him. So Faulkner's just disappearing into the distance. Mind you, he does weigh 3 bags of sugar, so that definitely helps. Rainbow in fourth, Tom Snape in fifth position, Matthew Pearce in sixth from Jurga, Bradbury, Corrie and Darling. But here is that battle for fourth position, still led by Matt Rainbow. This is where the real race is in this one. Tom Snape in fifth, Pearce in sixth from Jurga and Bradbury. All 5 of these drivers still very close together. And the racing continues unabated. Been absolutely fantastic all the way through. Great racing and great action. So they continue to battle away as Faulkner, Evans, Stanley, Rainbow, Snape and Pearce continue their battle. Jurga and Bradbury trying to close up. Bradbury makes a move for Jurga. That didn't work. Came from a long way back. I think he was trying to psych out Amy Jurga. But there's no getting in Amy Jurga's head. She is a very wily racing driver. She knows what she's doing, and she will not be intimidated. She has been a race winner this year, Amy Jurga. Took the final victory at Shennington earlier in the season, as long with 5 second places and 4 thirds through the year. Hence, she is set to finish the season potentially as third in the championship, although Matthew Pearce may displace her from that. We'll have to do the maths at the end of the weekend, because Matthew Pearce has been strong, and obviously Amy Jurga's incident in race 2 has dented her points tally a little bit. So we'll have to figure out at the end of it all who has got that third position in the Drivers' Championship. But for that man out front, for Sam Faulkner, it's pretty much all done and dusted. Fourth place is anybody's. Rainbow trying to get away. Snape is in there in fifth position. Pearce is sixth. Jurga and Bradbury tight in behind. So the racing's still pretty rapid as 2 minutes and 30 plus 1 lap on the clock. And Sam Faulkner out in front has had a great run. This man, Richard Evans, has done a good job here today. Let's not forget, Richard Evans in the 8 was not even here yesterday. Did not test. Most of the drivers do test on the Saturday to gain the opportunity to get the cart set up and get as much track running in for the weekend as they can. Richard Evans elected not to test yesterday. Obviously had work commitments, so he's come straight into the weekend, not knowing what happened yesterday, not knowing what the cart will feel like. Came straight into the warm-up and boom, right at the front, pretty much straight away. That's the quality of Richard Evans. And that's why he is going to be the leading Jedi driver in the category, which is a class within a class, as it were. And he will pick up the Jedi Championship trophy. And hopefully we'll be able to stay at the end of the race for the trophy presentations for each of the drivers at the end of their 2017 campaigns. So we will try and get you the championship trophies at the podium ceremony, which is at the end of the final for the Supermasters. So we will stick around for that so that you can see the drivers getting their trophies. Good battle between Ami Jurga and Jason Bradbury still going on for 7th place, as Bradbury still determined to get past Ami Jurga. You are not going to beat me in this last race, says Jason Bradbury. Want to bet? Ami Jurga retorts as they come off the toe of the boot, into the heel, and onto the main straight once again. And still, Ami Jurga defends brilliantly from Jason Bradbury. There's Elliot Stanley looking to end the season with a clean sweep of podium positions, a win, a second, and a third. And what an absolutely amazing race weekend it's been for Elliot Stanley. Prior to this one, he's had all sorts of bad luck. His best performance had been at Butmore Park when he finished 5th in the pre-final. He won the first race, he was 2nd in the second, he looks like he'll be 3rd in the third to get a clean sweep of podium finishes. But what a fantastic end to the season it has been for Elliot Stanley, and this will give him bags of confidence going into next year. Bradbury's not done yet as we go into the penultimate lap. So with 2 laps to go, Bradbury is still determined to get past Ami Jurga. He's had some great battles through the year as Jason Bradbury. His pace has been non-stop, and he was really hoping it would rain today because he goes better in the wet. And there was that fantastic battle, of course, back at Butmore Park when Bradbury had a great chance to get some decent performance, get a decent finish on the board. And I think it was Jonathan Collins he was battling with, and they just banged wheels into the second hairpin after the pits. And there wasn't anything either of them could do about it. Just one of those things. And again, for my money, that one back then was a racing incident as well. No one driver apportioning blame for that one, and certainly I don't think there should have been. Into the last lap goes Sam Faulkner out in front. Richard Evans, 5 seconds back. And from Sam Faulkner's point of view, it has been an amazing end to the season with a 2nd and 2 wins. That's exactly how he wanted to end his year. And he clinches the championship in doing so. But Sam Faulkner winning from Richard Evans and Elliot Stanley is a great end to the season with Rainbow, Snake, Pearce, Jurga and Bradbury all still battling for the final positions. But as they come down the back straight for the last time, Sam Faulkner is going to make it another victory. He has done this in absolutely fantastic fashion, Sam Faulkner. He makes Kimi Räikkönen look like a stand-up comedian at times with his shyness and his quiet words, but he's definitely a winner on track. Sam Faulkner wins the final race of the season and captains a fantastic SuperElites125 championship win. 2nd for Evans, 3rd for Elliot Stanley, 4th for Matt Rainbow. Tom Snape is 5th from Matt Pearce, Ami Jurga and Jason Bradbury, with John Corrie, David Darling and Aaron Banks finishing off the race. Dave Burns and Will Checkley, sadly, their races came to an end early on. But what a sensational end to the season for Sam Faulkner. And I've said it once and I'll say it again, Sam Faulkner, the man who makes Kimi Räikkönen look like Tommy Cooper. In terms of what he says on the track, it's very little. But what he says on the racetrack, it is absolutely incredible. He does all his talking sat behind a steering wheel. And in fantastic fashion, he has made it 2 wins out of 3 again here in the birelART UK Series paddock at Whilton Mill. I'll make my way over to scrutineering first and then get my way back down to be in the right position for the final of the Super Masters in the 125cc category again. So the season is going to come to a very interesting... Where's Matthew Pearce going? Matthew Pearce has overshot. I think he's accidentally carried on. He went the wrong way and then came back into the pits the right way. I think he's accidentally carried on an extra lap. But he's got himself back into the race, into the scrutineering bay again. And I'm now going to find the same man I always find. Quiet, not cocky, not arrogant, just loves his racing. Very Jim Clark-ish is Sam Faulkner. And we're going to have a word with him. Well, Sam, it's been another tough weekend, but a 2nd and 2 wins to cap off a brilliant season. And it is now official. You are the birelART UK Series SuperElites125 champion for 2017. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels amazing to have, after losing it last year because of a technicality, to win it this year feels good.
And that means that you can go into the winter with your head held high and 2018 looking very rosy.
How many rounds we're going to do, but yeah, it should be good.
Because of course we know that your focus is on multiple championships over the course of the year. You've wanted to get your hands on this one, but it's a good feeling to know that, you know, this sets you up for international competition, for more national championships. You've done so well this year.
Yeah, it's good to finally win the senior championship. You know, such a tough championship. It's good to well, finally have it.
Well done, Sam. Champion 2017. Well done.
Cheers, thanks.
Right, let's see if we can find Richard Evans, who has come home in 2nd position. Where's he gone? Richard Evans was around here somewhere. He seems to have disappeared. Let's get a final word with Elliot Stanley, actually. That's a great way to end the year, isn't it? 1, 2 and 3. All 3 places on the podium. Just a shame it wasn't the other way round, really.
I'd rather it be the other way round, but oh well. It's a good way to end the season, so hopefully next season come back with more.
And it's been a really tough round every single possible way to lose. To have that gives you confidence going into next year where maybe a push at the title is possible.
I hope so. It was a really good way to end the year after the season we've had, especially after fullback. I didn't think I'd have the confidence to get back in the kart, but it's really good to finish the year on a really good high. So hopefully next season, race wins.
Well, you've got so many fans who are... What a... Elliot, well done.
Cheers, thank you.